Alright, we start off this series by seeing Sasha hugging the main character, Heis, as she says that she did it and that her blessing is the Swordmaster. Heis congratulates her, and Sasha tells him that it's his turn now. He smiles and says that he is sure that he will also get an amazing blessing and that they can then go on adventures together. Sasha smiles and says that then they will be one step closer to achieving their dreams. Heis agrees, and we see a younger version of both Sasha and Heis in front of their mother's and dad's graves, while Heis says that they will make the best and strongest team together, and then they are going to help tons of people so that no one else has to go through what they had to. Someone else tells Heis that it's his turn now. As Heis goes to do it, we get explained that blessings are powers that are granted to humans by God. In this world, you go through baptism and also receive your blessing by the time you turn 12. And to find out what your blessing exactly does, you need to read it in the Tome of Blessings and understand what your blessing is and what it allows you to use. Heis puts his hand on the book and thinks that for the sake of their dreams, this is where they take the first step. However, Heis is quickly surprised as he wonders just what it is that he got. He asks the other guy, who we know now is called Geist, and he doesn't know either. Heis is surprised that even Geist has no clue about it, as he is a guild master. However, he tells Heis that since they don't know what his blessing is, then that means that he can't use it. We then get all the way to 2 years later, where we see Heis slacking behind while he's carrying a ton of stuff. Suddenly someone called Reynold comes back and asks how he is hanging in there and tells Heis that they are almost there. We also learn that Reynold is the vice captain. Anyway, Heis says that he is fine and that he can keep on going. However, Sasha says that they will take a 30-minute break. Heis tries to assure her that he can still keep on going. However, Sasha asks him if he collapses here, then who's going to cover for him, and that they would have to carry the luggage, which would make them unable to fight. We then get introduced to Piazzolla, Tycoon, and Robin. Piazzolla says that Heis doesn't even have a blessing, but that he's still talking big. Meanwhile, Robin says that she can carry some stuff as well, and asks Sasha if that's fine. We then get to Sasha again, who is the leader. However, she says that Robin can't, and that their current task is a very important decider for Team Sacred's rank up, telling Robin that their archer can't be having to do more things. Heis then thanks Robin but says that he is fine. Sasha then, with a mean tone, just tells Heis to get some rest. Heis then thinks that it's been 2 years since he got his blessing, and that he's formed a team with Sash, and their team grew from there. He says that their team called Sacred is currently a B rank team, and Sasha's individual rank is currently A rank. Heis gets angry and says that meanwhile he is just someone who can't even use his blessing and is carrying around luggage. Suddenly, Reynold pats him on his shoulder and tells him not to get to him and to just rest up. Reynold then approaches Sasha. Sasha asks him how Heis is doing, and he says that he looks pretty exhausted, saying that he thinks that Heis will pull through just fine before asking Sasha if she has decided, and she says that she has. Anyway, they then enter the den of the A-rank Queen Cobra, and since their task is to subjugate it, Sasha says that their plan is simple and that she will go and confront it head-on, while Tycoon and Robin will provide support. Reynold will guard the rear, and Piazzolla will stay in the back since she's their healer. Heis then asks Sasha what he will do, and Sasha tells him to stay right here, which makes him a bit annoyed. Sasha then tells Tycoon to use support magic, and the text says that there are certain blessings that allow people to call upon a power called magical energy, and having magical energy allows you to use magic, saying that Tycoon's blessing is a sage, which allows him to use magic aside from healing magic, and his specialty is support magic. Sasha then tells them to go, and they then walk into the den and go against the Cobra. Sasha tells the Cobra that there are no hard feelings involved, but that it has to die here. Heis is just amazed in the background and says that no matter how many times he sees it, it's always a sight to see, explaining that Sasha's blessing, Swordmaster, allows her to be exceptional with swords, and as long as she's holding a sword, she becomes stronger and can use amazing swordsmanship. And the greatest thing about her blessing is that she can unleash magical power at will, and she can use it to strengthen her sword and shield, saying that it's one of the 16 master blessings that are currently known. We then see all of them working hard while a Cobra sneaks up behind Robin and is going to attack. However, Reynold comes in the last second and saves her. Piazzolla says that this is their shield master and laughs a bit. Heis is just standing minding his business when Reynold screams out for him. We then see that a Cobra was able to sneak up behind. However, luckily, Sasha was able to defeat it. Heis thanks Sasha for saving him. He tries to explain why he is here, as he was supposed to stay behind, but Sasha screams at him to stop causing trouble and to stay still. Sasha then walks away, leaving Heis standing alone. Anyway, they then get to looting, and Robin asks what they should do about the other materials. but Sasha tells her to leave it and that they only need the Queen Cobra's core. We then get to Heis, who has found some cool looking book. However, just then, Piazzolla tells him to stop dawdling and start packing, and Heisi apologizes before he hides away the book. After that, we get to the village, and we see Heis sitting alone looking at the book. He wonders what it is that he is looking at, and compares it to the mystery he felt when he got his blessing. He thinks that he has to try to decipher it somehow, as who knows. Maybe it'll be the catalyst he needs to use his blessing. Finally, after that, the whole guild enters the room, and just when Heis is supposed to say something, Sasha tells him that he should leave the team. Heis can't believe it, and asks what happened to their promise, and asks if Sasha has forgotten it. However, Sasha says that she hasn't forgotten it, but that Sacred's about to be promoted to a A-rank team, and when that happens, Heis will only keep dragging down the rest of the team, and Sasha plans to aim for being the best team. She then puts down a ton of money and tells Heis to take it. Heis starts getting angry, but then Reynolds comes forward and says that they are sorry about this, telling Heis that they will do their best to make sure their name would be spread so far and wide that it will even reach his hometown. Heis asks if there really isn't any place for him in the team, and Reynolds says that there really isn't. Heis gets quiet before he says that Reynolds really wants to see him gone, and he is just about to say why when Robin speaks up and says that she is against making Heis leave, telling them that Heis's blessing is also a master blessing, isn't it? And that they might know what he's a master of someday. Reynolds just asks her when that day will really come and explains that their battles from here on out are going to be tougher than ever before. Robin asks what's up with Reynolds and says that he usually isn't like this. However, Reynolds says that Heis can't be here anymore and that he isn't needed, and tells Heis that he is formally kicking him out. Heis gets angry at first before he says that he hears them and grabs the book and is about to leave. Tycoon tells him that he forgot his parting gift, but Heis says that he doesn't need it. Tycoon tries to argue, but Heis then slaps it away, saying that he doesn't need it. He tells them that he will leave, but that he will never give up, and that he is not going to become an adventurer like Sasha, who will throw away the weak just to climb up higher, and he then leaves. Sasha then apologizes to Reynolds for making him kick out Heis, but he tells her not to worry about it, and asks if she is sure that this is how she wants things to go. Sasha says that it's alright, and that she doesn't want Heis to die, so this is fine, even if he ends up hating her for it. We then get to 2 months later, where we see that Heis has managed to take down 20 goblins that day. He says that that's the best he's ever done, but that he needs to get stronger. Suddenly, everyone around him starts to laugh at him, saying that he got kicked out of Sacred, which makes him a bit annoyed. However, when he is about to leave, everyone from the Sacred team walks in. Sasha is amazed to see him. However, when he is about to leave, she tells him that south of here, towards the desert nation of Dizara, within the wetlands, there are apparently white clover flowers blossoming there, the kind used in healing potions. Heis thinks that white clover flowers are quite expensive and could be sold for a lot, wondering if Sasha and the others really are looking out for him, and if maybe Sasha wasn't being mean. However, he quickly throws those thoughts to the side. We then get to the following day, where he has arrived at the wetlands and is seeing all of the flowers, which amazes him. He thinks that they may not be in the same team anymore, but that he should at least thank them. Anyway, as he is in his mind picking flowers, a big shadow suddenly covers him, and as he looks back, he sees a huge dragon in the sky. The dragon starts to roar at Heis, and Heis quickly thinks that he needs to get away, but just when he is about to leave, the dragon has already cut him. The dragon then goes in for another attack, as he sends Heis towards a rock, and he spits out blood. Heis starts to wonder if this was the bathing ground of that dragon, and wonders just why Sasha told him to go here before he thinks that she set him up, and thinks that in the end he was just an obstacle for her. The dragon then gets closer, and he thinks that he doesn't want to die. He screams it over and over again before he touches the book and it starts to light up. After that, I'm not even kidding, but he pulls out a grenade launcher. He thinks that he can feel it, and that even thought he has never seen a weapon like this before, he just knows how to use it. He thinks that he just needs to pull the trigger, and it'll launch an explosive. The dragon then starts coming closer to Heis, and he pulls out the weapon and thinks that he can kill it. Then he shoots towards the dragon and completely destroys it. He then thinks that he's finally found out his blessing, but says that this weapon is not of this world. Heis then starts to laugh manically, as he says that Sash betrayed him, and that he won't forget it. After that, we get to the village, where Geist congratulates Reynolds and Piazzolla for reaching A rank, before he asks Sasha how things are going with Heis. Sasha is surprised that he asks, and asks why. Geist explains that there have been some bad rumors about him going around lately, which shocks Sasha. Anyway, Geist explains that a bunch of people are mocking him for not giving up on being an adventurer, And on top of that, there's also rumors going around that Sasha were trying to drag him down. Sasha asks him if he really thinks that she would do something like that to Heiss. But Geist just drinks his tea and says that it's of course just a rumor, saying that the more famous they become, the more jealous someone like him, an ex-member, will attract. However, with that said, Geist knows that Sasha wouldn't do something like that to Heiss. Geist then tells Sasha that he's still determined to make their childhood dreams come true, which makes her blush. Geist continues and says that for now he said that he is saving up money to do so. Sasha then adds in by saying that she told him about a great spot to gather some herbs. Geist asks her where that would be, and Sasha says that it's on the way to the desert country of Dizara at the small Westlands. Geist then gets up right away and asks if Sasha is serious before explaining that the place is the lair of an double S rank monster, the black ancient dragon's bathing ground, which shocks Sasha. Suddenly someone comes rushing through the door, telling Geist that this is an emergency. Geist and the Sacred Guild go down where they spot Heiss sitting with the dragon behind him. Heiss then starts to speak and asks if Sasha hated him that much, saying that it's too bad that it didn't go according to her plan and that he ended up surviving, and on top of that, he killed the dragon. Sasha is confused and asks Heiss what he is talking about, but he tells her not to play dumb with him. Heiss then stands up and says that he was happy for a moment, thinking that Sasha was cheering him on, but he then says that he's now done trusting people, and that he will with his own strength become the strongest. However, as he says that, he suddenly falls to the floor and Sasha screams out his name. We then get to 2 years later, where we see a much older Heiss. He tells some sort of housekeeper that he will be staying for another month with breakfast included. We also see that Heiss has managed to become an S-rank adventurer and is called the Harbinger of Darkness. The old man looks at him and asks if he isn't an S-rank and tells him that instead of staying at a dump like this, he should be at a fancier place. But Heiss tells him that it's exactly why he is here, as nobody would expect an S-rank to be here. Heiss then looks at the paper that the old man is reading, and it's a picture of Sasha, where it says that Brynhild, the Silver Valkyrie, has finally reached S-rank, and now their clan is being flooded with applications, which firstly catches his eye, but he then just leaves. We then get to the Adventurers Guild, where we see that Geist called on Heiss, and Heiss asks him what he wants. Geist says that he heard that Heiss took down a mithril ogre that was an S+ rank monster, and Heiss just coldly says that he guesses that he did. Geist is amazed that he did it solo, but Heiss just says that Geist taught him well. We then get explained that the ranking of the monsters represents their strength, and that the ranking can go from F, which is the lowest, all the way to triple S, which is the highest. However, there has never been a triple S rank monster before, and the highest in reality is a double S rank. Geist then tells Heiss that he could get some great materials if he killed them more cleanly, but Heiss says that with his blessing, it's impossible. Geist then remembers something, and he pulls out a letter, which is to Heiss. He explains that it's an invitation to the S-rank adventurer ceremony. Heiss asks if they didn't already have one, but Geist says that the one before was just a guild ceremony, and that this is an invitation from the royal family. Heiss asks why on earth the royal family would be holding the ceremony for S-rank adventurers. Geist then tells him that the first king was the one who created the idea of an adventurer, and that furthermore, he was the first ever S-rank in history, which is why, as those who walk the path of the first king, the royal family is the one responsible for classifying S-rank adventurers, telling Heiss that at the ceremony he will be given an S-rank request, and by taking that request only then will he officially be recognized as an S-rank adventurer. Heiss is just annoyed as he says that he has already taken on a plus S-rank mission. Geist then moves the topic and tells him that Sasha will also be going there, and that catches Heiss's attention, and he squeezes the paper harder. Geist asks if Heiss still can't forgive her, and he says that he never can. Geist tries to argue and says that he has told him countless times that Sasha kicked him out because she didn't want him to get hurt and that she cared for him. However, Heiss just asks Geist that if she really did it out of kindness, then all those things she said, like stop getting in the way and that he was only dragging down the rest of the team, would she really have said those things? Geist says that she must have had her reasons, but Heiss adds on and says that it still doesn't change the fact that she kicked him out. Before saying that there's more, he says that actually, he isn't against about what she said about throwing away the weak, and he is sure that it's how she will eventually become the strongest. But Heiss then stands up and tells Geist that he will keep on walking his own path to becoming the strongest, telling him that he doesn't trust anyone and that he doesn't need those so-called comrades, and Heiss then takes his leave. Geist just sips on his coffee while saying that even with all of his strength, Heiss is still just a kid. We then get to a couple of months later, where we see both Sasha and Heiss side by side, kneeling towards the king. The king, otherwise known as Barbarous, tells them that they are issuing them their formal request from the kingdom of Hybelk. He then calls upon the first Prince Cress, who tells Sasha that she is tasked with defeating crystal golems that suddenly appeared in the Sistal mines located south of the kingdom, telling her that he shall accompany her on this mission. Sasha says that she humbly accepts this task, and we then get to the first Princess Maiwani, who says that she will read out Heisi's task. She tells him that at the sacred mountain of Gagazia within the territory of the forest kingdom of Igodra, located east of the Hellebelt kingdom, his task is to gather eternal moongrass, which is used for making spirit elixirs, and she says that she will come with him. We can also see that she looks super excited about that, as this will be her first mission. Heis says that he accepts the request, but that he cannot allow Her Highness to accompany him, which leaves everyone in awe. Even Geist looks annoyed. Maiwani screams at him, asking him why not. Heis says that there are numerous dangerous monsters in Gagazia, and while protecting Her Highness, he estimates that there'd be about an 80% success rate for the request, saying that he would not want to put Her Highness's life in danger. Maiwani asks if he has taken into consideration his team in his estimation, but he says that he works alone. Heis then tells the Majesty that he cannot have Her Highness accompany him on this task and asks him to please get to go alone. Barbarous just starts to laugh, saying that it's meant to be the royal family's way of witnessing the rise of a new S-class adventurer, and to think that a royal member cannot come is certainly a first. He then tells Heis that he has heard about his achievements, like how he's been taking on S-rank requests and the fact that he finishes them all on his own, and he then says that he shall make an exception for Heis. Maiwani gets mad, but he tells her to abandon any thought of accompanying Heisi, and he then claps his hands and says that it concludes the formal ceremony, telling them that from here on out, it shall be but a casual dinner party. The party starts, and Barbarous goes to Geist and says that Heis really is something. Geist agrees and says that he had a feeling, but that he never thought that he would go out and say it like that, and he truly apologizes for what happened to Her Highness. But Barbarous says that it's fine and not to worry about it, telling them that Maiwani has gone straight to Sasha to ask if she can join her. So we then get to that and see her asking Sasha to please let her join. Cress then comes and tells her not to be selfish, but Maiwani just gets mad. Cress argues and says that she is bothering the people of Sacred now, but Sasha says that it's fine, and that if Maiwani wants to come along, then she is free to do so, and she thanks Sasha. We then see Heis looking at this and calls her a childish princess, before looking at everyone in Sacred and getting some flashbacks from their past together. And he quickly looks sad before he says that he could go for a drink, but just then, he hears someone calling out for him. It's none other than Geist, who tells Heis that he has no idea about how nervous he was earlier, telling him that he wasn't expecting him to say something like that to the king. Heis just laughs and apologizes about that, but Geist tells him that this would normally not be something to laugh at. However, thankfully for Heis, the king found that part rather amusing. But he tells Heis not to let that go to his head, before he tells Heis that since he is going alone, nobody will be able to watch his back, and tells him to remember that, and Heis says that he knows. Geist then asks what Heis plans on doing now, and Heis tells him that his plans are to keep taking requests while improving his skills at the same time. Plus, he hasn't really been able to decipher much of that ancient book yet. Heis then just finishes his glass and tells Geist that he's going home now. He's about to walk outside of the gate, but that's when someone else calls out for him, and this time it's Sasha. Sasha asks him if she can talk to him again, and says that it will be just the two of them. Heis, however, tells her that he has nothing to talk about with her, but Sasha says that she wanted to apologize. Heis then starts to laugh and asks Sasha to stop fucking with him. Sasha is shocked, but Heis asks her why she suddenly feels like apologizing now, telling her that she has had plenty of chances to apologize over the past 2 years, telling her that she didn't even feel like doing that the day when he almost got killed. Sasha tries to speak, but Heis tells her that the day after he passed out, they all decided to set out for a mission, telling her that she never planned on apologizing from the start, and he tells her that he doesn't need her apology, and that whatever comes out of her mouth means nothing to him. Sasha just looks totally shocked, but that's when Heisi tries to leave, but Sasha rushes to grab him by his clothes. Heis stops, and Sasha apologizes and tells him that she was scared and that she thought that exiling him would be for his own good, telling him that she thought that if she could make their dream a reality, then she thought that he would understand. Heisi just asks her what's the point of calling it our dream when Sasha is the only one living in it, telling her that it's more just her dream and not to use him as an excuse. Sasha then begins to cry, but Heisi tells her that his dream is to become the strongest all on his own, and that he would never throw away the weak like how Sasha did, and that if it means cutting people off, then he would rather be alone from the start, telling her that whatever reason she may have for abandoning him, she also threw away the dream they shared. He tells Sasha not to forget about becoming the best team, which is her goal, explaining that she should go for it, even though he isn't in the picture, and he then leaves while thinking that they can never go back to how things were. We then get explained that the eternal moongrass is one of the rare ingredients used to concoct elixirs. Its defining trait is that it glows. It is said to only grow on the peak of the sacred mountain Gagazia, which is within the forest nation of Igodra. We then get some more details on some of Heiss's equipment, for example his coat, which is a double S rank coat made out of the hide of the ancient black dragon, and it also serves as durable armor. He has a ring item box, which is an exquisite high-grade ring that keeps items placed within it in stasis. Items such as luggage, water barrels, or even freshly grilled chicken and such. We also have an ancient book. It says that it's a stranger's keepsake, though its weapon master was deciphered though only partially. Then lastly, we have his adventurer card, which is a magical tool which can also be used to deposit money into the Adventurers Guild bank. We then leave his house and get to the Adventurers Guild, where we see the receptionist telling Heiss that the guildmaster is currently speaking with Sasha right now. Heiss says that he understands and apologizes before asking if she can wait for a moment. He then goes to the board of quests and wonders if there are any high-ranking requests. He says that the highest is a B-rank extermination request, and he thinks that it isn't something he can do along the way though. Suddenly he notices an elf who stands to his right, and he looks surprised. The elf asks what it is, but he tries to say that it's nothing, but she then asks him if elves are that uncommon, and he says that they are, explaining that it's rare for elves to leave the forest nation of Igdora, so it's safe to assume that she probably doesn't come here too often. She says that he is right and tells him that today is her first day. She tells him that she traveled west and ended up in this central region. She then pulls out her adventurer card, and we see that her name is Prisei, and we also learn that she is a B-rank adventurer. Heissi asks what party she is in, but Prisea tells him that she is strong enough for her to handle herself. Heiss thinks that it's the first time he has heard anyone else say the same thing as he does. She then asks him for his card, and he gives it to her. Prisea sees that he is an S-rank adventurer, and says that it's quite rare for someone solo to be S-rank, but he says that he gets that a lot. Prisea then asks him if he is doing a request right now, and he says that he is, and that it's in the forest nation of Igdora. This sparks her interest immediately, as she screams and asks if he really is going to Igdora. He says that it's true, but asks her if she could just pretend that she didn't hear anything. Prisea says that it's not a good idea to carelessly talk about requests like that. After that, the receptionist calls out for Heiss and tells him that the guildmaster is free to see him, and he walks and says goodbye to Prisea. As he is going to the guildmaster, he bumps into Sasha. Sasha asks if he also came here to ask Geist about the royal request, and she tries to spark up a conversation, but Heiss just walks right past her. We then get to the guildmaster's room, where Geist says that it seems like it's a double S-rank dragon that resides at the peak of Mount Gagazay, and that even Yggdrasil, one of the 4 great clans, avoids going near it. He explains that the Yggdrasil clan is made up of mostly demi-humans, and that the elven hero Ibis is the clan leader. Heissa asks what exactly the clans are, and Geist tells him that clans are organizations that only S-rank adventurers can create, and that they serve as an organization that has several adventurer teams under it, explaining that it also allows adventurers to take requests directly without needing the guild, and likewise, they'll be compensated directly as well. Geist then grabs a letter and tells Heissa to take it. Heiss asks what it is, and Geist tells him that it's an introduction letter, and that he should give it to the Yggdrasil clan leader, and that he's sure that it will be of great help. Heissa then asks him if he knows the masters of the 4 great flower clans, and Geist tells him that being an adventurer for over 40 years, you'll certainly end up having connections one way or another. Heiss then grabs the letter and says that he is off, and Geist tells him to be careful. Heiss walks outside of the royal capital, but he then pulls out his desert eagle and asks who is there. However, no one answers, so Heiss shoots a shot to the side, telling them that the next one won't miss. The person says that she gives up, and we see that it's Prisea. Heiss asks her why she is following him, but she tells him that she has a favor to ask him. However, Heiss just tells her to go and bother someone else. Prisea, however, tells Heiss that it has to be him. Prisea explains that she also wants to go with him to the sacred mountain of Gazazia, and that until they get there, to please let her come with him. Heiss just wonders to himself why she wants that, and he then asks her for her reason. Prisea says that it's because of the eternal moongrass, saying that it's the only thing that can save her sister, explaining that she has all the ingredients she needs except for the eternal moongrass. However, since it's the mating season for monsters there, it's impossible to get permission to enter. Heise just asks what that has to do with him. Presea explains that with Heise it's a different story, as the forest kingdom of Igdora is under the Hellbelk kingdom, and so if he has a request from the kingdom, then he will definitely have permission to enter. Heise asks her how she knows so much about his request. Presea says that she had a hunch and that she also listened in on his talk with Geist. Presea clenches his fist and says that she needs to save her sister, which is why she needs to come with him to Gagazet, at least until they enter the sacred mountain, and she asks him to please let her be his teammate, and even if she dies along the way, Heise can just leave her be, and if she is able to get the eternal moongrass, she will even give him all of the money and asks what he thinks. Heise says that whatever reason she might have has nothing to do with him, which leaves her annoyed. But he then says that he doesn't really care if she decides to follow him, but he makes it clear that they are not teammates, so even if it gets dangerous, she is on her own. Presea says that it's fine, and that she can protect herself, and they then continue their walk. They encounter some sort of trolls, and Heise guns them down. Presea says that his weapon is really something else, and asks if it his blessing, and Heise says that it is. Presea then explains that her blessing is called Spirit Command, and that it allows her to control spirits which aren't visible to normal people, saying that she can even ask them for help, such as with eavesdropping or hiding herself. Heise says that it's how she learned that he was headed to Gagaja, and she says that he is right, and then asks Heise about his blessing. Heise says that his blessing is called Weapon Master, and that it allows him to perfectly use weapons from another world. Presea asks what he means with another world, but Heise says that he doesn't know himself, telling her that so far he can use about 4 different weapons, explaining that there's more though, but that he doesn't know how to use them yet. Not to mention that he is the only one able to use them, as we see here, as Presea touches the gun and it instantly turns into dust. Heise then says that it's enough talking and that they should set up a camp. They then set up the camp, and Presea is amazed at how good the item boxes are and says that Heise has so much stuff in there. Heise tells her that he bought one of the largest capacity back at the capital, and Presea says that she is envious and calls him an S-class. She then asks him what he is making, but that's when he gives her a plate full of food. Presea asks if he is sure, as they aren't even teammates, but Heise says that he just felt like it. Presea then goes to try it, and she is amazed by how good it tastes and compliments him. Heise just says that he used to do all the cooking and chores before. They then eat up, and Presea thanks him for the meal before she starts to stare into Heise's soul. Heise asks her what it is, but Presea just says that she thought that he would be much colder in person. Heise asks if she is trying to pick a fight, but Presea just says that she is really grateful. Heise doesn't really understand, so she explains that she is grateful for getting to tag along and that she has a chance at saving her sister. She then tells Heise that she will ask the spirits to keep watch for tonight as a thanks for the meal, and tells Heise that he should rest up. Heise just thinks to himself that this feels a bit nostalgic before he says, "Alright." After that, we get to the next day, where they have arrived at the base of the Igradil clan, and at the great tree which serves as the symbol of the clan. Presea gets stars for her eyes, as she says that it's one of the 4 sages who lead the great clans, and that they say that Clanmaster Ibis used their powers to create that tree. Heise then asks her, who are the 4 great clans, and Presea explains that the 4 great clans with each rivaling the size of a country. Firstly, we have the West Side, which is the largest entertainment district in the world, and they are called Fantastic Fantasy. Then the South Clan is a large mining entity, ran by the Dwarves and the Cavern King. Then in the Northern Clan, they have the Seifert Holy Knights, saying that they only allow those with sword-related blessings to join. And then lastly, where they are right now, is the clan Yggdrasil. They then get to the main gate where someone asks Heise for their papers. Heise tells him that he came here upon the request of the royal family and that he needs to enter. This shocks the guard, and Heise is then about to introduce Presea, but she has covered herself in some sort of cloak. The guard then gives Heise his entrance certificate, and Heise thanks him before handing him a letter from Geist. The guard reads it and gets even more shocked, and he leaves while telling them to hold on a moment. We then see someone else coming down and saying that Heise is just Geist's disciple, and he apologizes for making him wait before he takes his hand and starts dragging Heise along. Heise looks annoyed as he wonders why everything turned into such a hassle, as he gave them the note from Geist. Presea just tells him that she will wait here and tells him that Ibis holds more power than the Igdora family and tells Heise not to offend him. The old man then drags him to an elevator, which is something Heise has never seen before. Anyway, they enter and they get high up, and there the old man tells Heise that over there is where he can find the clan master of Yggdrasil and says that this is his sanctuary. We then see Heisi entering the sanctuary, where he sees Ibis, the clan master of Yggdrasil. However, she looks a bit different from what he had in mind. Anyway, Ibis greets him and calls him Geist's disciple. Heis is still in shock that Ibis looks to be a kid, but Ibis then says that she read Geist's letter and that it says here that Geist wants Ibis to help him, but it also says that Heisi would most likely decline her assistance. Ibis then laughs and says that Geist hit the nail on the head and calls Heisi a cheeky little brat. She then gets serious and says that there's something oddly nostalgic about him, and she gets right up to him and tells him that she can smell the gunpowder on him. Heis is amazed that she knows about guns, but Ibis tells him that she used to have a teammate who used them. Heis then thinks that if that's the case, then maybe she knows something about this book, and he shows it to Ibis, who firstly looks stunned before telling Heise that she is amazed that it's still around, and says that this belonged to Nobunaga, and says that it's his diary. Heise has no clue who Nobunaga is, but Ibis just says that he heard her, and tells him that he's a person who came from another world, and somehow ended up in theirs. Heise then asks if she knows what's written in the book, but Ibis tells him that she has no clue at all, and that she can't read the letters of another world, and that Nobunaga never told her about the contents either, or that she even knew much of his gun ability. Heise is a bit disappointed, but says that he understands. Ibis then asks if he can read the letters in it, and Heise says that he can but only a little bit. However, as he opens up the book, he realizes something amazing, which is that he can read more pages now. Ibis just once again starts to laugh and says that it's interesting, and she asks Heis if he would mind telling her what it says. Heis, however, warns her not to take any offense, but he then begins to read, explaining to Ibis that it says that Ibis came by today to hang out again, just like a cat. Nobunaga wrote that his Ibis is the #1 cutest in the world, and that he needs to give her lots of attention tonight, writing that if he gave her cat ears and a tail as a gift, would she even wear them, writing that just imagining it is cute enough, and that maybe he should hunt some cat-like monsters to make it a reality. Heis says that it's what it says, and Ibis looks stunned and embarrassed at the same time. Meanwhile, Heise asks if she and Nobunaga were lovers or something. Ibis then gets flustered and takes up a pillow and throws it towards Heise, screaming at him that it's enough for today, and that if he needs her help, he should come by another time, and she closes the door on him. Heis is outside now and looks a bit annoyed, but thinks that it really was a coincidence that he was able to read more pages now, saying that it's almost as if this book has a will of its own, before thinking that there's no way that it can be true. After that, we get near the peak of the sacred mountain Gagazia. Heise tells Prisi that they are almost at the top now, and Priscilla says that the fog sure is getting thicker because of how high up they are, and says that she can barely see anything. Suddenly something starts to appear from the ground behind Priscilla. It's like a slug monster, and it's heading right towards Priscilla. Priscilla is caught off guard and can't do anything, and Heis sighs, but he then takes out one of his weapons and completely destroys the monster. Priscilla just can't believe her eyes, but Heis stays cool and says that the monster hunts using the fog in its favor, and tells Priscilla to stay on her toes. After that, Priscilla asks him why he decided to help her, even though they aren't teammates, explaining that he has no obligation to save her. However, he also has no reason not to help her save her sister, saying that's all there is to it, and to consider it as thanks for everything she has taught him along the way. Priscilla clenches her fists before she starts to blush and thanks Heise, and Heise just tells her sure. But suddenly something catches both of their attention as they hear a loud scream, and they look up towards the sky, where they see a huge dragon flying around in the air. Priscilla looks at it annoyed and says that it probably went out to hunt, before saying that this means that it's the best time to get the eternal moongrass, and Priscilla starts to sprint with all that she can towards it. Heis tells her to wait up, but Priscilla looks back and tells him that she will be right back after she has grabbed it, and that she will give him the rewards after she gets back. Heis still screams at her to wait, thinking that Priscilla is underestimating the dragon, and says that they are extremely territorial, and that they will come back right away the moment something enters their domain. But then, to add to the situation, a ton more of those slug monsters appear around Heis. We then get to Priscilla, who says that she has arrived, but as she looks around, she says that there is nothing here, thinking that she needs to get the eternal moongrass quickly while she still has time. She runs around in the grass, but her face suddenly drops as she says that the eternal moongrass is all gone, and that there's nothing left. She falls to the ground while she starts to cry, saying that she won't be able to make the elixir after all, and she apologizes to her sister, but suddenly the dragon comes back, and we see that it's a green elephant dragon, which is a double S rank monster, and it roars towards Priscilla, who's still down on the ground. However, she then quickly gets up and starts to think that if she can hurt it enough and then distract it, then maybe she can escape. So she pulls out her bow and fires off an insane shot towards the dragon. However, the attack has legit no effect on it, and Priscilla is in awe that spiritual energy has no effect on it. However, she then thinks that if that's the case, then she will just have to try something even stronger. But just as she is about to launch her plan, the dragon lets out an even louder roar than before. This makes Priscilla have to try and hold her ears to maybe reduce the noise. But that's when the dragon sees its chance to attack, so he sends out his tongue, and he wraps Priscilla in it. He pulls her closer, and just when he is about to eat her, his tongue gets blown off. Priscilla falls down, but luckily she falls into Heisey's arms, who screams at her, asking what she is doing, and calls her a dumbass. Priscilla is shocked to see Heis, and asks what he's doing here. Heis, however, just tells her to stay back, and he starts to approach the dragon. He then pulls out what looks to be a Tommy gun, and just starts firing towards the dragon. But he quickly realizes that it has little to no effect, so he decides to change tactics as he pulls out a shotgun and just starts firing shots at the dragon, who can't do anything but just let the shots hit him. And after a few rounds of bullets, it looks like the dragon was defeated. Priscilla is just in awe of how he was able to take it down so easily. Meanwhile, Heis just asks her if she is okay, and she says that she is. She then gets quiet before she asks why Heis came here and tells him that she had told him to wait. It then looks like Heis starts to laugh, and Priscilla then starts to blush, wondering if Heis rushed here to save her. Heis then changes the topic and says that they should go as it's starting to smell. Priscilla, still a bit lost in her own mind, stumbles on her words and says, "Fine." Heis asks her what's wrong, but Priscilla just changes the topic as she tells Heis to look up as it's glowing and that you don't see that during the day. They then spot an eternal moongrass, but just as they are heading towards it, it starts to wither away. Heis wonders if they are withering away because of the dragon's blood, but Priscilla says that it can't be. Heis just looks at her silently before his eyes spot something, and he tells her to look over there, where we can see something still shining. Priscilla runs with all that she physically can, and she gets to it, and pulls out her tools, and then grabs a hold of the eternal moongrass, and holds it tightly towards herself. Priscilla then walks towards Heis, and tells him that he was the one who took down the dragon, and says that the eternal moongrass belongs to him, saying that she might be able to get more of it if she looks somewhere else. Heis gets the eternal moongrass, and thinks that with that, he has completed the quest. After that, we get to the mountain path's entrance. There someone screams that they have found Priscilla, and Priscilla looks shocked, while Heisey just looks at her angrily. Someone called Adra then steps forward and says that he is glad that he was finally able to find her, calling her goddess and telling her that she can't just leave a note and then disappear. Adra then looks over to Heis and says that he must be the S-ranker who took Priscilla to Gagazia, and Heis says that he is. Adra then explains that Priscilla is the younger sister of Queen Alcera, and that she is the queen of the forest kingdom of Igdora, telling Heis that he likely didn't know that, but that she's not someone to be treated lightly. Adra then looks over to Priscilla and asks how it went, but Priscilla just squeezes her hand and stays quiet. Adra says that it's just like how he thought, telling her that since she was unable to gather any after going to the sacred mountain of Gagazia, it's about time that she gives up. Priscilla screams at him, asking if he just wants her sister to die. Then Adra tells her that it's not what he meant and calls it Alcera's fate and destiny. Adra then tells Priscilla that it's time to get home at once and that they also have matters regarding their marriage to discuss. Priscilla wants to say something, but she can't, so Heise then pats her on her back, giving her the eternal moongrass and telling her that it sounds like she has a lot going on, and starts to leave while telling her that he will hopefully see her around. We then get to the forest nation of Igdora and the queen's room. While we are in Alcera's room, Priscilla starts to cry and apologizes for not being able to find any eternal moongrass. However, Alcera takes her hand and tries to wipe off her tears and tells her that it's fine and calls it destiny. After that, Alcera asks Priscilla if she can tell her about all of her travels in the west and central lands. Priscilla then wipes away all of her tears and says that she has actually brought her some souvenirs, but just as she goes down to grab them, she notices something strange. She picks the strange object up and sees that it's the eternal moongrass, and both of them look super shocked before Priscilla starts to cry and says Heise's name. We then get to a few days later, where we are at the Adventure Guild, and Geist says that he can't believe that he failed the request. Heist just drinks his tea, and Geist says that while the request itself is simply a formality from the royal family, still, it would have been better if he had succeeded, especially since he was so adamantly against the princess coming along with him. Geist then asks Heis what he plans on doing now, and he says that it's just the old stuff, accept requests and clear dungeons. Geist then tells him that he had a feeling that Heiss would say that, which is why he actually has a request for Heiss. Heiss looks shocked, but asks what kind of request it is. Geist tells him that a dungeon was discovered recently, and that the request is to investigate it. After that, Heiss leaves, but just as he leaves, he hears someone else say his name, and this time it's Priscilla. Heiss asks her why she is here, and Priscilla just smiles as she tells him that she was able to cure her sister's illness using the elixir, which was only possible thanks to the eternal moongrass that he gave her, telling Heiss that her sister has already recovered enough to her royal duties, and Priscilla tells Heiss that she owes him big time. Heiss just asks her what happens now. Priscilla explains that as a reward for her feats, she was given freedom to continue in her travels freely however she wants, and because of that she somehow wants to repay Heiss for everything. She gets a big smile on herself as she says that they won't be comrades or teammates or anything, but that she will gladly be his talking buddy. Priscilla asks what Heiss thinks about it, but Heiss just steps aside and says that it's a big pass. Priscilla looks towards him and chuckles before starting to follow him, and she asks him if he at least would like to have a meal with her, and that she knows a nice looking cafe nearby, but Heiss stays quiet. And we then get back to a few days ago, where we see the gate opening, and we then see all of Sacred, along with Cress and Mayoni, and obviously Sasha, who says that they are now ready to take on the royal request, and tells them all to go and get that crystal golem. We then get to the crystal mines, where we see Sasha telling everyone that they will go over the plan once again. She tells them that they need to increase the power of their attacks in order to be able to get through the crystal golem's tough body. She explains that they will start by using Cress's double ability to create a duplicate of her. Then Mayoni will enhance the arrows with explosion, and Robin will then use said arrows, and once they hit the golem, she will follow up. She tells them that she will be relying on them to cover for her. Sasha then looks to Cress and Miwani and asks if they are ready, and both of them say that they are, and with that, they start entering the mine. We then get inside the mine, where Robin says that it's beautiful. Tycoon says that mining here is only allowed for the purpose of manufacturing tributes for other nations, and that this mine is filled with very high quality ore, and that anyone who dares to mine here without explicit permission will be executed with no questions asked. Sasha then says that the crystals have such a mysterious glow. Tycoon then says that, by the way, he has also heard that the ores deeper down are way more beautiful and purer, and Sasha is amazed by that. Suddenly, however, Robin can feel something, and she tells them to hold on, and that she is able to see a crystal golem. Someone asks her how many she can see, and she tells them that she can spot 7, but that something is off. Reynold asks her what she means with off, but Robin tells them to look, and tells them that 5 of them seem to be patrolling the mines, while 2 of them seem to be standing guard in the processing area in the back, explaining that their movements seem to be strangely coordinated. Tycoon says that it's certainly strange, and that golems are supposed to be quite simple creatures that mutated from ore or rocks, turning into monsters in the process, and says that they shouldn't have this level of consciousness. Reynold then asks Sasha what they should do, but Sasha tells him that they are obviously going to stick to the plan, and she then pulls out her sword. Meanwhile, Cress uses his double ability on her, which creates 2 of Sasha. Robin then tells Mayona that she leaves it up to her, and Mayone loads Robin's arrows with explosives, and Robin then fires them directly at the golems, which hits them directly. Sasha then jumps down, and both of her doubles use the Silver Flash Lotus Strike, which is able to completely destroy the golems with ease. Sasha then looks back with so much aura, and says that it's over now. Piazzolla just looks in awe, and thinks that Sasha is so cool. Meanwhile, Sasha says that Cress's double ability is an amazing ability. Cress is grateful for the compliment, but says that the only drawback is that he can't double the same thing for at least 1 day. Sasha is shocked by that before she looks to her right and says that she feels some ominous aura coming from back there, so she was hoping to use it again. Reynold asks if she is being for real, and Sasha says that she is, and says that she doubts that it's only crystal golems, though she is sure of one thing, which is that it knows that they are here. Sasha says that it's not part of the request, but that they can't just ignore it either, and she tells everyone to stay alert. They then enter the crystal processing area, where someone asks if Sasha sensed him and decided to still come here, telling her that she is quite talented. Sasha asks him who he is, and he says that his name is Crane, and that he is a demon. Tycoon then screams out. Sasha just looks back and asks him what a demon is, and Tycoon explains that they're a race that were in a great war against them humans, and with their race on the line a very long time ago, telling them that the Great War ended when a certain man used his power to split the continent into 2, and one of the continents is the one where they live in, the human realm, and the other one is the demon realm where said demons reside. Tycoon says that nobody should be able to traverse between the realms and asks how he is here. Crane says that Tycoon is a smart one before saying that he should know what demons are capable of then. Tycoon, with a shaky voice, tells Sasha that they need to get out of here. Sasha is just confused, but Tycoon tells her that in the Great War, the demons numbered only a few thousand and fought against them, humans who numbered in the tens of thousands, saying that they are that insanely powerful. Crane then just laughs and says that it feels great to be complimented like that, before he tells them that he will let them off the hook for today and that they can thank Tycoon for that. He gets up and says that after all, he has already captured the high purity crystals he came for. Sasha asks him what he plans on doing with those crystals, but Crane tells her that she wouldn't get it even if he told her, telling her to stay out of his way so that he won't need to squash them. He then smiles with his crystal in his hand and says that they humans are like insects who just can't resist the lure of treasure. But suddenly, the crystal gets cut off in half, and Crane looks mad as he asks Sasha what she thinks that she is doing. Sasha says that she understands the situation, telling Crane that an insect has crawled their way into the kingdom of Hybulk and that she needs to simply exterminate them. Tycoon screams out Sasha's name, but Reynold then gets to him and asks if he has already forgotten, saying that if someone mines here without permission, then it's ground for execution. Tycoon then uses some sort of strength boost. Crane looks amused and calls it an interesting ability, and Sasha rushes towards him, but that's when he starts to form something in his hand and says that it's nothing compared to a demon's skill, and just with a flick of his finger, he is able to send Sasha right into the wall. Piazzolla starts to heal her right away, but that's when Crane appears behind her and calls it annoying and says that he will deal with her first. But just as he is about to strike her down, Reynold comes in his way with his shield. However, as he is blocking Crane, he sees the wind being around him, and Crane then explains that it's his skill and that he can freely control the wind. He then starts to upgrade his ability, and he flies into the air and has created some sort of tornado around him with a ton of boxes. Crane asks if they get it now, and says that if he wanted to, he could blow a whole town away with a single storm, telling them that their powers are on a completely different level from them pathetic humans. We then hear Sasha, who says that it certainly is an amazing ability, although it still won't be enough to defeat them, telling Crane that in a fight strength isn't everything, and tells him that she will show him. Crane just laughs and asks her what she could possibly even do. Then suddenly, a ton of arrows are with him in his back and create an explosion. Crane doesn't understand how it happened before he looks toward Robin and wonders if she mixed an arrow in with the things he was picking up. This, however, just makes Crane smile, and he tells them to allow him to return that attack of theirs, and he then sends their own arrows against them, which creates another explosion. But luckily, Cress had used his double ability on Reynold and was able to have two shields which minimized the damage. Crane is just in pure awe, and we then see Sasha rushing against him while saying that even if her powers alone aren't enough to rival him, together through teamwork, they can become stronger, and she is then able to cut Crane's chest, which leaves him on the floor with blood flowing down. Sasha then stands before him and says that this moment is proof of that. Crane then gets super annoyed and starts creating a strong wind around him. He screams, asking how a mere human dared to make a fool out of him, telling Sasha that all of her friends and all of her precious loved ones along with her whole country, he will destroy them all, and after that, he will kill her himself, telling her to mark her words as he fades away with the wind. We then get to the Hellbelk kingdom, where Sasha has just told the king about the demons. She says that the demon called himself Crane and that he seemed to be up to something. After that, the king says that he understands, but that he would like to hear it from Cress and Mayuan's perspectives, and they say, certainly. After that, the king once again turns to Sasha and tells her excellent work with the request. Sasha thanks him for his kind words. After that, the king says that Heisi failed his request, while Sasha, on the other hand, accomplished it without failure. Sasha is amazed as she hears that, and she can't believe that Heis actually failed the quest. After that, he says that he supposes that an appropriate reward is in order, and he asks Sasha what she would like. Sasha says if they may, they would request for a clan home. The king says very well, and that he had a feeling that they would ask for that, so he had the minister look into it beforehand. And after that, he puts a bunch of scrolls on the table and tells them to pick whichever one that suits their desires. After that, Sasha goes to the minister and thanks him so much, but he says that it was nothing at all. She then asks about Heis's request, and he asks if she is curious and laughs. But he then tells her that according to a report they received from Igdora, apparently he did manage to procure a single eternal moongrass. However, upon hearing that Queen Alcera was ill, the queen's younger sister Priscilla was given the eternal moongrass by Heisi. Sasha then takes her hand towards her chest and says his name. the minister continues and says that while he may have failed the request, he instead received gratitude for saving the life of a member of the Igdora royal family, explaining that Her Majesty wanted to reward him for his actions, but Heiss declined. Robin then appears on Sasha's side and says that Heiss is still not greedy at all, and Robin then asks the minister to what Prisia is up to recently. The minister says that she supposedly left Igdora and continued being an adventurer, and if he heard correctly, she's apparently traveling together with Heiss, which leaves both Robin and Sasha in total awe, and Sasha just thinks if there's a way that Heiss teamed up with Prisi. We then get to the Adventurers Guildmaster's room, where we see Heiss looking confused as he just says, "Rest," with a confused tone. Geist says that it's true and that the request to investigate the highest level dungeon is over. Heiss asks him why that is, as they were only at the 60th floor. Geist says that there's a reason for that, and that they announced that floor 60 and above hasn't been investigated yet, and called for other adventurers to respond. Heiss then asks if there are any other dungeons, but Geist says that there are none, and neither are there any high-level requests, telling Heiss that he really should have some downtime every now and then, explaining that taking a break is just as important, and that he is still 16 after all, and that there's nothing wrong with enjoying his youth. Telling Heiss that he could go on a date for once, but Heiss tells him that he isn't interested, nor does he really have anyone, but Geist tells him that he has Prisi, which makes Heiss spit out his drink. Heiss tells him that she is just following him because she wants to, and Geist then tells him that it was just a joke before asking if Heissi doesn't like books, and how about giving this place a go, and he gives him a map to a used book market. Geist tells him that Luberia, the city of books, holds a used book market annually, and that they might have some rare books there, saying that it sounds like a good way to kill some time. As Heiss steps out of the room, Prisia is already there waiting for him, and she asks if he's going to the used book market. Heiss looks annoyed and asks if she was eavesdropping on his conversation again, and Heiss then tells her to do whatever. Anyway, Heiss then gets to the cold commercial district, and Heiss says that Prisia went off as they arrived and went into some other stores. Meanwhile, Heiss is heading to the used book market. He goes in and sees that they have all sorts of stuff, and he then spots a book called The Adventurers of the S-Rank Adventurer, Gerald. Heiss wonders if there ever was a S-ranked called Gerald, and says that he could check it out as he has some time. But as he goes to pick it up, another hand goes onto the book at the same time, and it's none other than Sasha's, and she apologizes right away. They then greet each other before Reynolds comes over and asks if Heiss also came here. Heiss says that it's something like that, and asks if Sasha and Reynolds is on like a date or something. Sasha can't believe her eyes, but Reynolds puts his hand around her and says that it's something like that. But Sasha says that they are not dating or anything like that. But suddenly someone says Heiss's name, and it's Prisia who comes by and asks if there's a problem. Heiss says not really, and Prisia says that if that's the case, then they should have some tea, as she is already tired. Heiss says that it's probably because of all the books she is carrying, and he asks her to give him some. He then begins to walk away, and Sasha tries to say something, but Heiss just says later and walks out of the store. As Prisia and Heiss are outside, Prisia asks if that was Sasha, and if she was Heiss's previous teammate. Heiss is silent, but Prisia says that she remembers from when she was looking into them, and that they were childhood friends. Heiss says that it's true, but that it was a long time ago, and that it doesn't really matter to him anymore now. Prisia then says that there's one thing that she would like to ask him, and she asks him if he likes Sasha or hates her. Heiss says that if Prisia did her homework, then she should already know the answer to that, and says that Sasha almost got him killed. Prisia says that it's not true, and Heiss says that maybe it isn't, but that things can't go back to the way they used to be. Prisia is silent before thinking to herself that Heiss is stupid, as he never tried either. After that, we go to the deepest parts of the highest level dungeon, where we see Crane being super angry and slaying a bunch of monsters. He screams that he will kill Sasha and that he will make sure of it. Suddenly he thinks of a plan and says that he should do a stampede, as that would be quite entertaining, thinking that he can't wait to see what kind of look Sasha would have on her face. After that, we get to 1 month later, where the text says that the Sacred Clan continues to make strides. The day of the 5 great clans, instead of 4, is nearing. Suddenly, a team called the 1000 comes through the door, and the receptionist welcomes them and congratulates them on advancing to D rank. Someone called Roland and thanked her so much. She told them that they sure have been working hard ever since they joined Sacred. Roland laughs, but then Kua, who is also a member, tells him that it's not just Roland's efforts alone. He says that he hasn't forgotten, and that it's thanks to all of them. We then also get introduced to both Mad and Tina. Tina then says that getting into Sacred is really amazing though. Roland says that it truly is, but Kwa says that he was super nervous when he first got in. He asks her what she wants him to do, as it's Sasha's clan after all. And Kwa says that they also have to respect and admire her too. After that, he clenches his fist and says that it's only a matter of time before they also reach S rank. But Kwa just asks him what he is going on about. After that, the receptionist sees Heise walking in and thanks him for his hard work. Roland hears the name Heise and wonders if it's really him, but as he looks back, he gets scared by the sight of Heise. Heise then puts some stuff on the table and says that this was the equipment he found on the iron metal goblin he defeated, telling her to please return it to their rightful owner's friends and family. She asks him if he is sure, but he says that he doesn't need it. Roland thinks that Heise is actually super nice, and that's when he puts the head of the goblin right on the table, which scares Roland. After that, we hear Geist screaming as he says that the royal family has summoned all S-rank adventurers, so they need to go. We then get to the Grand Council room, where we firstly see 3 new S-rank adventurers. Those are the Judgment Clan Master, Chaos, the S-class adventurer and fighting mother, Mamacha, and lastly the Barbarian Clan Master, Jonathan. After that, the king speaks up and says that he will cut to the chase. He says that for reasons unbeknownst to them, B-class monsters are explosively multiplying in numbers. From a high-level dungeon close to the royal capital that Heise previously investigated, a lot of people had gone missing recently, so they had to put a stop to it. At the upper floors of the dungeon, what they found were signs of a stampede, which shocked all of the S-rank adventurers. We then get explained that a stampede is when the number of monsters drastically increases due to the dungeon boss's overbreeding, calling it a catastrophic disaster in which a huge number of overflowing monsters start attacking nearby towns. After that, he asks Geist to explain it further, and Geist says that after it was opened to the public, the boss monster that's supposed to appear on the 60th floor, the Tyrant Bomber, started appearing on the 10th floor, and not only that, as monsters that were only supposed to appear on the 40th to 50th floor started showing up on much earlier levels too. And so the early floor monsters that were supposed to be there started getting pushed out of the dungeon. Given their current whereabouts, it's highly probable that they will start heading towards the royal capital. Chaos asks him how many they are, and Geist just says that 30 years ago, at an intermediate level dungeon, a stampede had occurred, and approximately 20,000 monsters were suddenly loose during then. 3 towns within the Highbleck were destroyed, and 7 more villages were also wiped off the map. However, this time around, this is a high-level dungeon, and to be frank with them, it's hard to estimate just how bad it will be, and there's only one way to stop a stampeded, and that's to exterminate all of the monsters that got out. They all look annoyed, and the king then calls for Geist and tells him to proceed with requesting assistance from the adventurers' guilds of the neighboring nations before he tells Bonnet to prepare the troops. He then stands up and says that this is a crisis unlike any they have ever faced, and that if they don't unite together here and now, then this country is done for, and he tells them that they are the only ones they can rely on right now. Mamacha says that they don't know how big a catastrophe this will be, and that she thinks that they will need coordination between the clans. Jonathan agrees and says that everyone needs to work together and prepare for the stampede. After that, Sasha speaks up and asks if it would be possible to enter the dungeon and defeat the boss at the lowest floor beforehand. Chaos just tells her that it's impossible, telling her that the monster rankings inside the dungeon rises about 2 whole levels and that everyone would only end up as monster food before even reaching the bottom. He then asks if Heise also has any questions, but Heise just stands up and starts to walk out, which just makes the king start to laugh as he calls Heise interesting. We then get to 10 days after the counter-stampede meeting, and that the news of the impending stampede were publicized. The Adventurers Guild immediately suspended all requests, and according to further investigations, the stampede is likely to occur within the next couple of days. We then see them preparing for it, but we then get to the day of the stampede, where Heise asks the owner of the place he stays at if he isn't going to evacuate out of the royal capital. The man just says that 30 years ago, a stampede went through his village and that he witnessed it himself, explaining that his daughter and her husband had a dream to open an inn here in the capital. He was here at the time to purchase the inn, so he survived. However, the village, his home where he had lived his whole life, vanished without a trace, and not even the bodies of his daughter, son-in-law, nor his grandchild remained. As the survivor, he had to protect the inn and his daughter's dream until the very end. Heise then drops a ton of coins on the table and says that it's for tonight's stay as he walks away. After that, we get to in front of the royal capital, where Geist says that an estimated 70,000 monsters have been sighted, saying that all of them are going on a rampage and are headed for the capital, and that to protect the people's land and their home, they need to hold them here no matter what. After that, They then start to see the monsters, and someone says that it's not 70,000 monsters, but instead, a whole 100,000 of them. Everyone looks shocked, and they have no idea what to do next, but that's when Heist jumps down and tells them to stand back. We then see Heist pulling out 2 huge bazookas, which he straight away fires off against some goblins coming towards him, and obviously they get completely obliterated. But let me tell you that it's far from over, as Heist then pulls out a huge machine gun and fires round after round against the monsters approaching. Sasha then asks if that's Heist's ability, and Reynolds says that it's some real firepower. After that, Geist screams and tells them to start their long-range attacks, and they fire a bunch of arrows and stuff outwards. After that, we see the demon crane floating in the sky. He says that it has begun, and after that, he looks at Sasha and tells her that she better not die to the monsters before he gets to kill her himself. However, he does admit that he is more interested in Heist's weapon, saying that he had thought that it would be a messier fight than this, but that Heist is kind of ruining things. After that, we see Geist telling everyone to go forward and that they are counting on them, and we then see all of the S-rank adventurers going forward. Mamacha goes right into it as she uses her huge axe to slash a ton of goblins. She then tells everyone to hang in there, and we learn that her ability is enlargement. Just then, a Cyclops comes from behind her, and just when he is about to attack, we see Jonathan protecting her. He tells her that she is wide open and to watch herself. We also learn that his ability is vibration, as he has some sort of whip with him. We then get to Chaos, who throws some sort of knife that is filled with a ton of poison, and he tells the other S-ranks that they aren't half bad. We then get back to the goat Heist, who feels something incoming, so he jumps back. We then see a big explosion happening right beside him. Crane is surprised that he dodged it. Heist just asks him who he is, and Crane tells him that he is the one who started this stampede. Heist looks at him and says that based on his appearance, he must be the demon Sasha talked about. Crane asks Heist if he knows her, and Heist asks him what it matters to him. Crane just tells him that everything Sasha cares about, he is going to destroy it. However, he says that Heist is currently getting in the way of that, so he came over here to personally remove him, and on top of that, since Heist knows Sasha, that makes it even better. Crane then gets a smirk as he sends a lightning-fast wind attack right to Heist, and it's hard to see if he managed to dodge or not, but he doesn't look too damaged afterwards. Sasha then spots Crane and says that they need to go after him as well, but just then, a goblin goes to attack her, but it wasn't just one, as there are a ton in front of her, and she knows that they can't go after Crane like this. Suddenly it begins to shake like crazy, and even Geist, who is far away, can feel it. But just then, a whole-looking turtle came up from the ground. Reynolds runs to Sasha. Sasha, however, looks over to Heist, and she clenches her fist while saying that they need to take care of the turtle and to leave the demon to Heist. Crane then tells Heist that his friends abandoned him, but that's when Heist just responds with shooting a bunch of bullets towards him. But Crane uses the wind to easily counter it. Crane then asks Heist if he is dumb, telling him that if he had a report on him, then he should know that his wind powers are super strong in open areas like this. Heist just sighs before he switches weapons to a machine gun. Crane just laughs as he tells him that it's useless, but that's when Heist really locks in as he uses his other hand to summon a whole grenade launcher towards him, which creates a massive explosion. After that, we see Crane basically unscratched. He says that Heist's strange ability seems like it's a really bad matchup against his ability. Crane then starts creating a tornado around him and tells Heist that it doesn't matter how much firepower he has and that he can't even hit him at all. Crane then fires some wind attacks towards Heist as he asks him what Heist will do now, telling him that at this rate, they will be here forever. They go back and forth for a bit, and Heist thinks that it would be amazing if he could do something about that wind. Then suddenly Prissy comes and puts her hand on his shoulder. She tells Heist to let her take care of it and to just keep his gun steady like always. They both then smile, and Heist takes out his revolver and aims it at Crane. Crane just tells him that he has already told him that as long as his windshield is up, nothing he throws at him is ever going to work. Heist then says that he is sure that he can't win on his own. After that, we see Prissy standing right by him as he shoots his shot. Crane wonders what's different with this shot, and that they're using wind magic to break through his wind barrier, and just then, the bullet legitimately pierces through his crane and leaves him falling to the sky, wondering if he really lost to some humans. After that, Heist tells Prissy that she really saved him there. Prissy just laughs and says that he needs to treat her to some tea as a thank you later, and explains that she found a great restaurant the other day. Heist just asks her if eating is all she does, but suddenly they can hear someone screaming out for Sasha behind them, and we see Sasha, who is starting to bleed quite a lot as she is standing in front of the turtle. After that, we see a type of bird telling every adventurer to listen up. The bird tells them that a new powerful stampede monster has appeared, called the King Turtle, with an estimated ranking of SS+, explaining that this is the turning point and telling them to please hang in there. We then get back to Sasha, who goes back towards it. She attacks it, but does legit no damage, as she says that the turtle is too tough and that her sword just bounces off. Just then, the turtle throws his own attack, which hits directly. Reynold asks her if she is alright, and she says that she is fine. However, she thinks to herself that ever since the King Turtle showed up, they started getting pushed back, explaining that if things keep going like this, the monsters are going to get into the city. Just then, Reynold screams at her to look behind her. However, it's far too late, as a goblin has already gotten in an attack towards her back. After that, she gets surrounded by goblins. Reynold puts everything aside and screams that he is coming, but as he is on his way, a huge goblin goes right in front of him, making him unable to get to Sasha. However, he is able to see one of the goblins around Sasha going for the blow, and he screams out to her, but suddenly the goblin magically dies. It was due to the King Turtle starting to charge up an insane attack, which eliminated the goblin. Reynold sees this and thinks that it's bad, and that he needs to get Sasha out of here. However, as the big goblin isn't letting him get past, he says that it's too late. Sasha manages to open one of her eyes as she looks at the incoming attack coming right towards her, and she says that this is the end. Reynold screams her name, but just then, she realizes that the attack didn't hit her, but instead, Heiss, who is standing right in front of her. Sasha is in total awe, but he then falls right towards her. Sasha catches him but screams towards him, asking him why he protected her, and that he didn't have to do that at all. Heiss, who is almost unable to speak, tells her not to ask him and explains that his body moves on its own. Sasha looks super surprised, but Heiss continues and says that they're going to build the best adventurer team out there, right? Sasha says that he still carries on their dream, even though she pushed him away, and yet he is still pushing her forward. But then she says that in her current stage, there's no way that she could beat that turtle. However, Heiss tells her that she will be fine. After that, Sasha thinks back in time to her and Heiss when they were kids. She says that there's no way that she can beat this slime, but Heiss tells her that she will finish it in one blow, telling her that she will be fine, and that he knows that she can do it, and he then smiles, both in her memory and also right now. Sasha then thinks to herself, as she thinks that Heiss has always believed in her, and she says that she gets it now. She asks herself what she is even thinking, and tells him that she will show him her fighting spirit. She still looks super injured, but she has a smile on her face as she thanks Heiss and says that she will be going. Just then, she leaps forward with all that she can, and she takes down an insane amount of goblins like it was nothing. Even Reynold looks at this and says that she got stronger all of a sudden. Mamacha then asks if this is an awakening, and Jonathan says that he believes so. He says that when someone overcomes a mental crisis, in these extremely rare cases, their abilities suddenly become much stronger. Saying that he only heard rumors, but to think that it was actually possible, Sasha then jumps high up into the sky and uses her golden sword and her Sky Fang attack to completely slice the turtle in half. After that, Sasha screams out, telling every monster left standing to bring it on and that none of them will get past her blade. After that, we see Heiss, who wakes up in some sort of bed. We see Prisia by his side, who tells him good morning. Heiss asks her how he got here, and Prisia tells him that she carried him here with the help of spirits and that she also gave him first aid. Heiss then asks what happened with the stampede, and she says that it was handled with no problems. Heiss then asks her what happened to Sasha, and just as he asks that, Sasha comes into the room and asks him how he is doing. Prisia says that she will go and get some water, leaving the two of them alone. Sasha asks him how his injuries are, and he says that they hurt a bit, but nothing serious. After that, Sasha apologizes. Heiss just tells her that he doesn't mind, and that it was something he decided to do on his own. He then says that Sasha awakened her ability, and tells her that it puts her closer to achieving her dream, and says that it's good. Sasha then clenches her hand and tells him that he might be wondering why she is saying this now, but she wants Heiss to come back to Sacred again. Just then, Prisia comes barging in. She screams that he can't and that he is a part of her team. They stare at each other intensely. Sasha then asks her what she means by that and that he was originally on her team. However, Prisia tells her not to forget that she kicked him out. After that, Heiss tells them that he doesn't need a team and that he is going solo. Prisia right away tells Sasha that this is her fault. Sasha then asks her what she even is to Heiss, and she says that they are sworn and fated to be together. Heiss just thinks to himself that it's so noisy, but admits that stuff like this isn't bad once in a while. Both of them then ask him once again who he will team up with, but Heist tells them that he has already told them that he is going solo. We then get to 6 months later after the stampede, and life was slowly returning to the city. After that, we get to the clan Sacred, where we see Sasha, who apologizes for calling in the clan 1000. The leader, who's so unimportant that I forgot his name, says that it's nothing. Sasha tells them that she has a request for them to take on, and that it's a C-rank request to take down a king ogre. 1000 are firstly shocked, but Sasha says that they are already C-rank adventurers, so she thinks that they should be able to handle it, and she asks them if they are up for the challenge. They look super fired up as they tell Sasha to leave it up to them. After that, we get to them while in their mission, and the leader says that this is bad, as he wonders why there is 3 of them. He looks around and says that everyone's completely exhausted and can't fight no longer, and there's no way he could take on 3 king orgs all by himself. After that, the king org starts going in for the kill, and he thinks that this is the end for them. But suddenly, the org's hand gets blown up before not long after their entire bodies starts to blow up, and we of course see that it's the goat Heis who has come to the rescue. Heis asks if everyone is alright before he notices them, and says that they are part of Sasha's guild. The leader right away thanks him so much and says that he saved them. Meanwhile, Heisi tells them to back off. One of the party members says that it was simply amazing how quickly he dealt with them all, and another one says that it's an S rank for you. The leader then opens his mouth again and says that Heis is aiming to be the strongest ever, and he asks him why he is set on that goal. Heis thinks for a bit before he speaks up and says that it is to conquer the 6 forbidden labyrinths, which shocks them. But we then get explained that the 6 forbidden labyrinths are a name for the 6 highest ranking dungeons in the world: the Great Delmadrone, the labyrinth buried beneath the ground; the Diliroman's Great Salt Lake, which has its own unique ecosystem; the Magnetic Forest, which has a mysterious magnetic force which messes with your sense; Drina du Starfloating Castle, a flying castle that appeared sometime in the past; Mount Necrophantasia, a mountain range is said to exist within the demon realm; and lastly, God's Garden, whose existence has only been mentioned in myths and legends. They say that those who enter those dungeons were never seen to come out alive from them. Someone says that the only ones which anyone knows the locations of is the one in the desert kingdom of Dizara, which is the Great Delmadrome Labyrinth, and the Diliroman's Great Salt Lake in the lands of Friest, and they ask Heis which he is planning on taking on. Heis looks caught off guard and says that, well, not just anyone can challenge them without permission from the nations, and who knows how long it will take, so the best he can do is just keep improving and finish whatever request he is taking on. They all look amazed. Meanwhile, he says that he is heading back to the royal capital, and they then interrupt him and tells him to join them, and for them to get a meal together when they are back. However, Heis shuts it down. After that, we see the king, who tells Heis that he certainly took his time, telling him that Heis is the second person ever to be late to an appointment with him. Heis apologizes, but then we see that even though he declined it, he still went and got food with them. Anyway, the king then tells Heis that he would like to ask him to conquer one of the 6 forbidden labyrinths, and it's the Great Delmadrone Labyrinth, and Heis is obviously very caught off guard, and in his head, he wonders if he is really taking them on already. The king says that, considering his recent contributions during the stampede, he has deemed that he is fit to challenge the forbidden 6 labyrinths. He looks straight at Heis and asks him if he will take on this challenge. Heis bows and says that he will humbly accept it. The king says that for matters about the Great Labyrinth, please seek out the clan master of the Stone Sovereign in Dizara, and that someone called Bargain will have all the details, and he tells Heisa that he has prepared a letter and that Bargain will point him the right way. Then the king shall pray for his return bearing good news. Heis says that he understands, and after that he leaves. As he is going outside, and outside the castle, he asks someone if they were listening. It's Prisia who says that she was, and that Heis is going to take on the 6 forbidden labyrinths, and she smiles and says that it's just like him. Heis tells her not to follow him this time, as you never know what could happen, and that it could be pretty dangerous. Prisia just tells him that she gets it, and tells Heisi not to worry, as she won't sneak up on him. She explains that, even though she recently became just an A rank, as she is now, she will probably just be a burden. Heis says alright, and is about to walk away, but Prisia then tells him that Sasha and her friends are going to try and take on the Diliroman's Great Salt Lake, and Heis thanks her. He then continues to walk, but Prisia once again calls out for him, and he looks back, annoyed, and asks her what it is. Prisia has a huge smile as she asks Heis to tell her about it when she gets back. Heis lets out a small smile and says, "Sure thing," and that he will be sure to tell her over some tea, and this makes Prisia super happy as she smiles, and she then tells him to be safe as he finally leaves. With that, we get to the desert nation of Dizara. Heisa tells someone that, upon the request of the king of Hyblek, he is here to meet Clan Master Bargain. He gives her the letter, and she tells him to just allow her a moment to check everything. Heiss then thinks that he has more weapons in his arsenal now compared to before the stampede, so things should go fine as long as he doesn't screw up. After that, someone comes out and asks Heiss if he is the one who dares to take on the 6 forbidden labyrinths. Heiss asks if he is Bargain, and he says that he is. Heiss tells him that he has received a request to take on the Great Delmadrome Labyrinth, and asks if there is anything he can tell him about it. However, Bargain straight up tells him that he has nothing to say, and tells Heiss to go back already. He continues, and says that this is a request from the king himself, and that he has no obligation to tell him anything, and that this is something that the king shoved onto him, saying that a brat like Heissy, he can't let someone like him go into the forbidden labyrinths. Bargain says that Barbaros said he was sending a S rank, who stopped the stampeded, but Heiss is just some kid, and that there is no way that he is going to pull it off, explaining that he is telling this as someone who took on the forbidden labyrinths himself. But Heiss cuts him off as he just laughs and says that to think that the 4 great clan masters, which everyone talks so highly about, they were just a bunch of cowards who ran away from the great labyrinths. This makes Bargain angry as he asks him what he just said. Heiss then says that there's no point in listening to some coward and says that he is right and that he should head back. However, Bargain then grabs something and calls him a punk as he goes to attack him, which creates a massive explosion. We see the house that they were in actually breaking as Heiss comes flying out. We then see Bargain, who goes to him with a crazy amount of aura as he laughs and says that Heiss actually managed to survive that. But if that's the case, then he asks Heiss if he will survive this also, and we see him going in for another much more powerful attack. Heiss manages to jump to the side and avoid the attack, and Bargain compliments him because of that, as he admits that it isn't bad. Heiss looks a bit lost before he starts to lock in again, as he takes out his gun, and he tells Bargain to stop messing with him, and with that said, Heiss fires off a ton of blasts towards Bargain. However, Bargain isn't worried about that, as he just looks at his weapon and seems surprised. After that, he takes out his hammer, and thanks to some sort of miracle, he goes nuts and deflects all of Heissy's shots. Heiss just looks at him like, he must be kidding. After that, Bargain takes a deep breath and Heiss waits to see what he will do, but shockingly, he just starts to laugh uncontrollably, and even Heiss looks shocked, but mostly confused by it. Bargain then goes to Heiss and calls it interesting, and thinks that he would meet someone else who uses the same type of weapon as Nobunaga. As Heiss hears that, he thinks back to Ibis and asks Bargain if he is talking about the same one that she loved. Bargain right away gets excited as he takes Heiss by his shoulders and asks if he knows about Nobunaga, and Heiss says that he at least knows about the name. Bargain claps his hands and he asks what his name was again, and Heiss tells him that it was Heiss. With that, he looks at Heiss and tells him that he will tell him all he wants to know about the Great Labyrinth and asks Heiss to come with him. Heiss is just left extremely lost as he wonders what is going on. After that, they go to the clan master's room and Bargain tells him to have a seat. Bargain gets them some drinks and says that he used to be in the same team as Nobunaga, saying that now Ibis is the clan master of Yggdrasil along with the other masters of the 4 major clans, but that they were all originally on the same team as Nobunaga. He explains that Ibis may be like how she is now, but she used to follow around Nobunaga wherever he went. Bargain looks serious as he says that Nobunaga wasn't just a teammate, but that he was a friend, and that he couldn't just ignore Heiss after seeing someone who uses the same weapon as a good friend of him. He calls out for Heiss and tells him that the reason why he didn't want him to go to the Great Labyrinth wasn't just because he was trying to be rude or something, but then he shows a huge scar and says that this is the wounds that he got from the Great Labyrinth, saying that the monsters in there don't even compare to the monsters they know, and that all of his team members who went with him died in there, explaining that he was the only one who walked out alive. Despite hearing that he asks Heiss if he still wants to go, Heiss is silent before saying that a long time ago, he made a promise with someone to become the strongest, and right now, they are also going to be taking on one of the 6 labyrinths. Not to mention, they've gotten stronger ever since the recent stampede, and that he doesn't want to fall behind. Heiss looks determined as he says that this is why he must go in order to become the strongest. Bargain first looks shocked before getting a slight grin and saying that he is just like Nobunaga and that he doesn't listen to others at all. With that out of the way, Bargain says that he sees Heiss's determination and that he will tell him everything that he knows about the Great Labyrinths. Then he says that the Great Delmadrome Labyrinth might seem to be your standard dungeon. However, as he said before, the monsters in there aren't like anything he has seen before. Adventurers who let their guard down because they think it seems like any other dungeon are definitely going to die the moment they enter, and even if you get lucky and manage to actually get in there, then they will soon realize exactly why it's not like any other dungeon. He tells Heist that it was like another world and strange iron boxes and all sorts of unknown objects scattered all over the place. Heist points to somewhere on the map and asks him if this is the iron boxes that he is talking about, and Bargain says that it's right, and that when he showed it to Nobunaga he said it looked like something from his original world. But who knows why things from Nobunaga's world were found in the Great Labyrinth, and that maybe there's some sort of connection. Heist asks if Nobunaga didn't know anything either, but Bargain says that it seemed like he had no idea. Heist then thinks that perhaps there's other items from other worlds inside the other forbidden labyrinths too, and that maybe he will learn something about his abilities if he clear them too. Bargain then tells him that this is all he knows, and that the information that he got in return for his friends' lives, and saying that he knows how pathetic it is. Heist just looks at him and thinks back to how he calls Bargain a coward, but he thinks that it's not how it is, as they risked their lives to bring back this information just so his comrades' deaths won't be in vain. He then calls out for Bargain and asks him to take back what he said about him being a coward, and tells him that he is super sorry. Bargain just smiles and tells him that it's fine and that he doesn't have to be considerate in the first place. Heist then thanks Bargain for the advice and says that he will definitely clear the Delmadrome labyrinth, and he is about to walk away when Bargain tells him to hold on. But just then, someone opens the door and excuses herself for being late. Bargain says that she is finally here, and she says that she got way too into a sparring match and ended up being late. Bargain then asks her if she is the other S-rank adventurer Hijiri, and she says that she is with a bright smile. She then spots Heist and gets right up to his face and tells him that he looks pretty strong. Meanwhile, Heist just asks her what she is doing. Bargain then asks Heist if he wasn't paying attention and says that Barbaros's letter says right here that Heist and another S-rank adventurer are going to take on the labyrinth together, and Heist screams out as he hears that. Meanwhile, Hijiri just looks somewhat happy. Heist tries to argue and says that he didn't hear anything about it. Bargain says that he sees, but that this is the official request and that Heist most likely has to comply. However, he says that it doesn't mean that he can do it with some random weirdo. Hijiri then speaks up and says that it's rude, and she takes out her card and says that she is even certified. Heist just wonders if she really is an S-rank. Bargain then tells Heist to give it up, and Hijiri then puts out her hand and tells him that it will be nice working with him, and she looks super happy. Meanwhile, Heist looks miserable.